Hello, welcome back to the Football Terrace. Terrible, horrific scenes at Goodison Park this afternoon. First thing we need to say here is a get well soon. A big get well soon to Andre Gomes. Suffered what looks like an absolutely horrific leg, maybe even a leg and ankle break. He was holding his leg in, together at the sort of the middle of the shin. You saw his ankle twisted in a very unnatural position, and you saw the distress on the fans, on the Everton, of course, the Tottenham players as well. Son, who was dismissed for the tackle, in absolute floods of tears. An absolutely horrific moment that everybody witnessed today, whether on television, especially the people at the ground that see it. And I think everybody will send their love and their thoughts will be with Gomes at this time. And we wish him an absolutely speedy recovery and hope he can come back to the elite level of the game as soon as possible. And I know that's going to dominate the conversation. I know already on social media, there's lots of talk around why was Son even sent off? Was it that bad a foul? Was it the clash with Serge Aurier that actually caused the leg break? Did he just fall awkwardly? And the fundamental fact of the matter remains, although I've gone and watched it back 3 or 4 times, rewound my Sky Q box, it isn't clear. It's not clear to us. Sky are never going to show us replays of that injury. So, and we may never get to see them. But it was terrible. It truly was. And I felt really sorry I felt sorry. Of course, Gomes gets the large chunk of the sorrow and the me feeling sorry for him, and sympathy is the word I'm looking for. But I also feel for Son in this situation as well. You saw the man in tears. He was distressed. There was no intent to hurt. He tried to win the ball. We caught the guy. Man fell over, and unfortunately his leg, ankle, maybe both, have unfortunately broken. We will assess the game. We do want to speak to, we want to go through as many of your comments as possible. Tottenham fans as well, throwing another lead away, although it was in very emotional circumstances. And Everton, you pulled a goal back from a goal down at home when you've been on a terrible run yourself. So if some of you just want to chat football, we'll go through your comments on that as well. But do us a big favor before we go any further. Please hit the like button. Please hit the share button as well. 2 of the very best ways that you can support us here at the Football Terrace. One of the only independent all football team channels on YouTube. We generally cover the top 6. We're going to talk about a top 6 team today in Tottenham. But yeah, I'm kind of shell-shocked. By it. It's such a horrible moment. I'm going to jump into some of your live comments here first of all. I know everybody wants to talk about the leg break. Wow, some people here look. Andrew here says, "Look nasty, that injury. Looks like his season is over. Hope he recovers." And that's from a Chelsea fan. Yeah, like his season is done. There's no doubt about that. I very much doubt he'll come back and play any meaningful football this year. The one great thing for players in this day and age, the technology, the medicine, operations are so much better now than even of 5 to 10 years ago. The turnaround, some players actually do get bad leg breaks, bad ankle breaks early in seasons and come back that same year. So it's more the psychological damage. Some players are just never the same again psychologically after such a horrific injury like that. Clifford here says, "Man, I just saw the leg and it's horrible. Gomes is in my prayers." Anfield Rose says, "It was Martin Atkinson again with rubbish refereeing." What do you mean? How did Martin Atkinson create that situation? I don't understand that. How did Martin Atkinson create this horrific accident? Let's have it right. Son, it's debatable whether Son should have been sent off or not. It is, because it wasn't the impact. It wasn't a badly timed, dangerous tackle that led, in my opinion, to Gomez's leg breaking. It was the clash with Serge Aurier. And Aurier's challenge wasn't horrible, wasn't bad. It was an absolute freak accident. So if anybody's out there is blaming Martin Atkinson, tell me why. Explain to me why. It doesn't make any sense to go after the referee. It was an accident. An absolute accident. And by the way, anyone that's going after the Spurs players here, dirty this, dirty that, disgraceful. I think the tackles that led to that leg break were pretty standard in the Premier League. I bet if you went through now and assessed all the yellow card tackles this weekend in the Premier League, you could find 10, 15 that were worse. That you would look at as more leg breaking tackles. It was a freak accident. It wasn't like when Aaron Ramsey's leg was broken or Luke Shaw's in the Champions League, where they were mistimed, horrific tackles that snapped the leg in half. This was a series of unfortunate moments that have led to this horrible injury. Let us not, as a football community, now turn this into a he said, she says. They're to blame. They're dirty. They're this. It was purely and simply an accident. Horrific, but an accident. Nevertheless, do me a favor if you're new to the Football Terrace, first time tuning into us here at our community, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit the bell notification button as well so you know when it is we go live. I'm going to try and get to as many of your live comments as possible. Absolutely off the chart as it stands right now. VAR should be controlled by officials from another country. Premier League officials are just rubbish. Okay. Again, if you're talking about the handball, gee, I mean, I cannot believe that wasn't given against Dele Alli. For me, turns his back on the ball, isn't looking, his arms in an unnatural position. Stonewall handball. I'm shocked. Absolutely shocked. That wasn't overturned. I completely and utterly agree. But it's subjective. It's a subjective decision. Terry, are you going to make a full video of how Tottenham are playing so rubbish this season, or just going to do it for Arsenal? I do a fan channel review show. It's hard to do a fan channel review show for Tottenham because they don't have the same level of content out there. So there is a difference in those things. But I've done a number of, I've covered a lot of Spurs games at full time and spoken about that. So just go through my channel and search for it, my bro. You'll see it. EC3 Bros here says, no one's fault. It was an accident. So let me ask this question. I want to pose this question to everybody tuning in. Let me pose this question to everyone tuning in. Do you think that Son deserved a red card for his tackle on Gomes? I saw Drifty tweet this, and it's stuck in my head since, along the lines of the accident was horrific, the injury is terrible, but the tackle itself, would you call that tackle as a standard rule endangering an opponent? Because if that's the precedent, every single tackle could lead to an incident like that. You could even win the ball, and it leads to that happening. You go in do a good slide tackle. You could even do a good standing tackle. And then the player's trailing leg trips over yours. He falls over and he hits an advertising ball or falls into another player and his leg breaks. Is that a red card? If Son wins the ball in that tackle, is it a red card? And I'm not defending. I am defending Son here. I think it's harsh to send him off. This VAR should have been looked at. They don't have to show us on TV what's going on, but I can't understand it. I don't see how the tackle was horrific. It wasn't two-footed. He didn't leave the floor. I didn't even think he overly endangered the opponent. It was a freak accident after the fact. We have a super chat here from Pricey who says it was a 90-degree ankle Achilles tear, not a leg break. Maybe. I'm going by the fact that it looked like he was holding his shin. If his leg isn't broken, then brilliant. I mean, an Achilles tear that snapped and turned his ankle around that far could actually be worse than a leg break. Potentially. Baz1 here says it was a yellow. John Amos says it was Aurier's challenge that actually broke the leg. Well, that's part of my point here. They're not assessing that. And look, Son may not have even been in a condition to have continued in the game. He was absolutely distraught. And you had Everton players going up to him and consoling him and making sure he was okay because there was no ill intent. None. But I don't understand why he's been sent off. I don't understand it. It makes absolutely no sense to me at all. Saeed here says, Terry, in my opinion, Son could have continued to play because he was couldn't continue to play because he was clearly shocked. In fact, the leg breaker seems to have emotionally affected the Spurs players. Yeah, I think so. I think that he couldn't have gone on. A few people here saying the tackle is on YouTube. By the way, look, I will retract everything I have said if the replays and slow-mos demonstrate that it was Son's challenge that broke his leg. or broke his ankle or whatever the injury is, I'll stand there and say, absolutely got it wrong. But through what I have seen, the angles they have demonstrated to us, it appears to be the clash. Maybe not even the clash. It could just be studs getting caught in the grass after being fouled. I doubt they're going to overturn Son's ban of 3 games for that tackle. But they could be setting themselves a very dangerous precedent here. Because Son's tackle happens in every single Premier League game, probably by 2 or 3 players per game. Now, are we only going to send people off if it results in somebody's leg being broken? Because the risk is always there. Always there. I don't understand it. I really don't get it. Most of you here in the comments saying it's a yellow, and nobody's disrespecting Everton, nobody's disrespecting Gomes, but most people think it was a yellow card. And I do agree. I think it was a yellow card, in my opinion. I remember De Jong. Tackling Ben Arfa. Won the ball. It was strong. Ben Arfa's leg broke. Wasn't sent off. I don't even think it was booked. It was considered a clean tackle. And I know the game has moved on over the last 5 or 6 years. But still, feels like a yellow card to me. Feels like a yellow card. Celeb here says Son shouldn't have been sent off. You could see that there was nowhere near a horror tackle. Gomes studs got caught in the grass when he turned, and by the same time he stopped. Aurier couldn't stop his tackle. Yeah, I don't even think Aurier's was a disgraceful tackle either. And look, I get Everton fans are going to be emotional. They're going to be banging for blood. And you heard the boos, and you heard the venom, and you heard the anger. I understand that reaction in the moment. But I think once they calm down, once they review the situation, they will see there was no ill intent. There was no horror tackle. And I think that's what we have to look at here. No horror tackle. And if you're going to throw in the endangering an opponent, though, I guarantee you, if you reviewed it honestly and objectively, there were tackles from Everton players that were like that today. So it's a really interesting one for me. It's a real interesting one for me. Terry, in my opinion, any tackle that leads to a player getting an injury of that magnitude should be an instant red card. What if Everton used all 3 subs? Let's see. I understand your point, but I don't know if the tackle is what broke his leg. I get your butterfly effect theory that the tackle was late. It put the player off balance. He then stumbled forward. He couldn't control himself. He fell into another player and his leg broke. But that isn't the tackle. And I understand there doesn't need to be intent. We know that within the laws of football, intent isn't a law anymore. It's about endangering an opponent or having excessive force. I wouldn't say there was excessive force. But if it's because he endangered an opponent because of a freak accident that happened afterwards, every tackle like that is potentially endangering an opponent. Because I could make a yellow card tackle, just miss the ball, clip a player, he stumbles 3 or 4 steps, and as he's falling over, his studs get caught. Is that a red card? Not in my opinion. Not in my opinion. One thing I would say about this leg break, though, it puts us to shame again, all the divers and the play actors in football. All of them should be ashamed today. Every single player booked for diving in the last few weeks should be ashamed of themselves. Ashamed of themselves when a fellow professional is genuinely hurt in this way. It puts a mockery on things. It is so disrespectful. It's so disrespectful. Play acting, diving, throwing you. And that's the irony in diving, right? The irony in diving is you're actually looking for the contact. You ensure there's contact. One day a player, and maybe this has even happened, is going to leave his leg into a tackle or make sure there's contact. He's going to do a super duper roll and he'll hit his leg on a post or clash into a player and seriously hurt himself. And then you'll have the fans in uproar. Oh, look, my player's hurt. That's why people have got to stop diving and throwing themselves around. It's a madness. It's an absolute madness. Big shout out. A lot of people mentioned him. Tosan coming on and getting the equaliser. And very much deserved. Very, very much deserved in the end by Everton. Do you know what I was really impressed with? I've seen teams before have a player go off with that kind of injury and they kind of cower away. They almost they stop playing in many, many ways. And I was really impressed, really impressed with Everton that actually they increased their game. They upped the tempo. They upped the ante. And I think that if there had been another 5 to 10 minutes in that game, Spurs would have done. They really would have done. Let's go back again. Let's go back again here, though, and talk about the football. Let's talk about the football for the next 5 minutes or so. If you haven't done so already, please hit that like button for us. It's one of the best ways that you can support us here at the Football Terrace. Thank you. Thank you. I want to talk about the football, though, because it was an absolutely dire game. Everton are struggling massively under Marco Silva. In the first 50, 60 minutes, there was absolutely nothing from either team. And I will say this, and I mean it with as much respect as possible. Pochettino at Tottenham is dead. It's finished here. It's over. Today, again, blows another myth straight out the water that Tottenham are better without Harry Kane. Better without Harry Kane. Absolutely not. It was a poor performance from both sides, but Tottenham, Champions League finalists, a squad, say it again, worth over £800 million, valued by the leading sports accountants and advisory in world football, a company that the majority of professional football clubs use to help with the assessment and valuation of players. They write the biggest report each year on how the valuations of clubs and players are decided. Over £800 million worth of players, Champions League finalists, and yeah, their goal, by the way, came from a really bad mistake from Iwobi. Aside from that, little to nothing going on in the game. And I understand there was that massive emotional turn towards the end with the horrific injury to Andre Gomes. But it's another week and another game where Tottenham threw it away. And they can hide if they want. They can hide if they want behind the Gomes situation, the leg break, going a man down. Everton were galvanized. For me, that's papering over cracks. That's another excuse. So poor again. Poch is walking. Look, Poch has got a lot of credit in the bank for what he's achieved. If you look at Tottenham's recent record, which I'm going to go and do now, it's just so poor. So poor. It really, really is. When was the last time they actually won a game? They smashed a team I've never heard of. Oh, no, that Red Star Belgrade. Sorry, it's written in another language there. Barring that Champions League game. If you just look recently, right? You go back as far as like September. Beaten by Colchester. We go back further than that, right? This is how bad it is. Since they smashed Crystal Palace 4-0 in the middle of September, drew with Olympiacos, beat by Leicester after leading, I do believe, beaten by Colchester, narrow victory over Southampton, where they were very fortunate in, beat 7-2 by Bayern, beaten 3-0 by Brighton, drew with the worst team in the league, Watford, beat by Liverpool after leading, and then today throw away another leading result. And they go away their next game as well. Wow, their next game next Saturday at home to Sheffield United. It's peak. It's peak right now for Tottenham. And I think it's going to continue to fall apart. I think it's going to continue to fall away. Daniel Levy's got a big decision to make. He needs to move Maurizio Pochettino on. It's done. It's dead out there. And I mean, I think he's a very good manager who still has a great future in the game. I think there are tremendous players in this Tottenham side, but the squad needs to be rejuvenated. The squad needs a new manager who isn't necessarily going to take them in a new direction, but can just come back in and revitalize this team, because right now it's over, it's done, it's finished. But Daniel Levy don't want to pay that. You know, it's £30 million compensation to Poch if he's sacked. So I think what Daniel Levy's hoping for is that a Real Madrid or a Man United come in and pay the £40 million release clause for him. That's what I'm hoping for. But yeah, how do I put this? I'm not convinced that Poch can turn it round. I'm really, really not. Super chat here says, can you see Jose going to Spurs? Well, Jose Mourinho is massively linked with a move to Arsenal. I've been told that is his preferred destination. He has held meetings with the current director of football. Could I see him at Tottenham? Yes. They're showing the replay here of the tackle. Yeah, the tackle of Son did not break the guy's leg. I can see that clearly because they've freeze-framed it here. They're showing it again, but they're not going to show the impact. Oh, it ain't even a bad tackle. Wow, I've just seen the replay. Oh, I'm going to rewind that myself. Sorry. I've just seen the tackle. It's not even a yellow card. I don't even know if it's a yellow card tackle. And I don't even mean it rudely. He does slide. He barely touches him. It's the contact with Aurier. That's what I'm talking about here. I've got all the sympathy in the world for Gomes and his injury, but the referee's made a mistake by sending off Son. It's an absolute disgraceful decision. Seeing the replay now, right here, live, it's not okay. You might book him for it being a bit cynical because the man's on a break, but he did not cause the leg to be broken. So back to a few of your points earlier where people are saying, if you make a tackle and it leads to someone breaking a leg, it's an automatic red card. How? It's not Son's fault. He did nothing wrong that led to that. Unless if we start playing butterfly effects and domino effects, how far back are you going to take things? I mean, it's horrific. It might not even be that they've freeze framed it here. There is about 1.5 foot distance between Gomes and Aurier. And if you go and pause it, you can see the way his body's falling backwards, but Gomez's body's falling backwards to his right, but you can see his right leg is pushing forward to the left. I think his leg might actually break, or his ankle may break before Aurier even challenges him. I know, I do and I don't want to see it. I just want to understand what's happened here. A few people saying the collision. Okay, if the collision broke the leg, then Son can't be sent off. In my humble opinion, I don't think he can be. He's an absolute bitch. He's crying his eyes out. He knows that he's been involved in it, but I think it's such a harsh decision. I really think it's harsh. I really do. I really do. Kevin here from Man United Van Cam says, very harsh on Son. You could tell he was devastated by it. Someone here says, Terry, what did I tell you before you went on a tyrant? Atkinson is a rubbish ref. I think that decision is poor. I mean, a lot of people were talking about Atkinson being the reason it happened, which is a madness. But the decision to send him off is poor, in my opinion. And they just got to be careful with the precedents they set. They do have to, because what you're now going to cause is outrage when another tackle happens. I mean, I've seen much worse tackles than that. I've seen worse tackles than both Aurier's and Son's put together that yellow cards haven't even been given for. So madness. There was a player booked, I swear it was a Burnley player, booked yesterday for a brilliant tackle. Or it might have been a Watford player against Chelsea. Brilliant tackle. Book for it. More dangerous than that one. Terry, would you take Poch at Man United? I'm a Man United fan as well. Hi, Paul. There's others that would be ahead of him on my list. So, yeah. Would I be angry or annoyed if Man United hired him? No. Is he my preferred choice? Absolutely not. Nagelsmann is the guy at the top of my list right now. I just think there's something about him that's special. I also like the look of Eddie Howe. There's a part of me that almost feels like I'd love to see not an unknown, but what a guy with not so much no expectation, but a guy like him could do with even more talented players. But then would there be the respect from the dressing room because he hasn't played at or been at that level? I don't know. But Nagelsmann is my preferred choice. And also the guy, his name falls out, Eric Bentag. I can't remember his name, and I should do because he's one of my choices at Ajax. I think he'd be a good option as well. Potts is on the list. I think he could be a good option, but there we go. There's a comment here I wanted to read out, but it seems to have disappeared. Terry, look at Twitter. There are pictures of the incident. His leg was stuck between Aurier's. Oh, okay, cool. But then again, I don't necessarily think Aurier's tackle endangered the opponent. It was just a perfect storm. You know, a foul by Son, the player's trying to keep his balance, and it's led to a clash. It's just a very unfortunate accident. And I don't think Son should be missing 3 games for an accident. I really don't. I really, really don't think that he should be. Again, in my humble opinion. I don't think he should be. Let's do a couple more comments here. Arsenal fan here, despise Spurs. I'm not sure how I feel compassion for Son, but I do. That's not a naughty tackle. Yeah, Andrew Gasser, I agree with you. I agree with you completely. I think that if you remove any emotion from the situation, most people would agree with that, in my view. I really, really do. Jarvis here says, I feel for Son. Ryan Fraser tackle on McTominay yesterday was more of a red card. The tackle itself is the offense, not the consequences or outcome. Yeah, I agree with you, because the rules state that. Like, if you throw in a bad two-footed lunging tackle and you break a man's leg, it's as clear as the nose upon the end of your face that it was reckless and it endangered an opponent, because it literally did. But like I've said, there are lots of tackles in the Premier League that get bookings. There are lots of tackles that don't even get bookings that are more dangerous than what Son did. So I don't think he should miss 3 games. That isn't lacking compassion for Gomes. It isn't having any sorrow or sympathy for Everton Football Club, who, of course, are emotional right now. I feel so bad for him. I've seen Man United players break their legs. I've actually seen one in the flesh. It's horrific. I've played Sunday League football and seen good friends of mine break their legs on the field of play. Obviously, I did Thai boxing and kickboxing. I saw many, many people have their shin bones snapped in half, careers ended. It's horrific, and it damages you mentally when you see it. But remove the emotion. I feel for Son here. He's horrified that he was involved in it. He feels terrible, but he now misses 3 games for almost an innocuous challenge. The precedent's been set now. Lots of players you're gonna have to send everybody off who makes those tackles. Final super chat of the day here says, Terry, where do you stand at this moment in regards to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? The same as I've been for a number of weeks. I'm not going to turn on him and be nasty. I'm not going to be disrespectful. I can't do that to a man that I love and respect so much. However, I am not convinced that he is the right man to coach these players into playing the right style of football. I think he has other attributes that are doing. I think the culture and the work ethic of people is better tenfold to what we've seen before. But you can't just have that. It's like I've said before. It's okay. Like the passion merchant tag. Players need to have passion and work ethic and work rate, but they also need to have ability and skill. And I think that Ollie lacks that, unfortunately, from a coach's point of view. Comment here from Adam says, I really don't think Son will care about missing games compared to what happened to Gomes. You're not looking at the bigger picture. It's not even the biggest card mistake made this week. Adam, do you know what? I get your point, and I'm not going to overly challenge it. And maybe Son personally doesn't care. My argument is more about precedents being set. If that tackle's dangerous, it means the rule doesn't state if you do that, if you make a tackle that leads to an injury, a horrific injury, it's considered reckless or endangering an opponent. The rule doesn't state that. You now set a precedent that you're going to have to start sending more players off for even more innocuous challenges. And I think you need to be very careful in that. There are some tackles that are outlawed for a reason. That isn't an outlawed tackle. And it wasn't even. And again, if he mistimed that tackle and landed on the guy's ankle and broke it, yeah, 100%, but he didn't. And I think we need to be very, very careful. Let's do a few more comments here. Gomes will miss 6 months. Yeah, I get that. And I feel sorry for him. Do you know when Antonio Valencia broke his leg against Rangers in the Champions League? It was because a player slid down for the ball and landed on his leg. Like, not directly, but slid into it, and then his body weight went over the ankle and it snapped. Wasn't a foul, though. Wasn't even booked for it. That's my point. I wasn't angry with the Rangers, but go back and watch it on the internet. That's my point. That it wasn't a red card tackle. He kind of slid alongside him to block the ball, and it was a coming together. It was an accident. And I think there needs to be a differential between that. That's all I'm saying. Because tackling has been taken out of the game anyway, and it shouldn't be taken out of the game in the way in which we've seen. I understand it. Back in the day, right? The irony is this. Players at this level are set for life after one contract. But the tackling in the old days where players were retiring broke were worse. So in some respects, I don't want to see anyone get hurt, by the way. But every year, tackling becomes a dying art. You can't make slide tackles. You can't go to ground anymore. But you are risking people's careers potentially. But that's contact sport. That's contact sport. Every time a Formula One driver races, it could be his last race. Every time a boxer fights, it could be his last. There's an element of that gladiator nature that makes sport so compelling. And I get taken out 2-footers. I get taken out disgusting tackles at a knee height. But you can't stop tackles like Son's. You can't do that. And you will if you start sending people off for it, in my opinion. But listen, everyone who's tuned in, thank you very, very much as always. Until next time, take care of yourselves. God bless, and we'll see you all again soon. Bye-bye.